This is Grumpy SEO Guy, episode 122. SEO pay to play sometimes. You're listening to Grumpy SEO Guy, the SEO podcast that doesn't waste your time with nonsense that doesn't work. I'm the Grumpy SEO Guy, and I'm sharing with you the strategies that have helped me successfully run my SEO agency for the last 14 years. In this podcast, I'll be sharing my knowledge and experience, discussing tips and strategies, and trying to help you cut through the confusion that permeates this industry. If you listen to this podcast, you will know more about SEO than 99% of people on the planet. Ready? Let's get started. I'm the Grumpy SEO Guy. Let me tell you why I'm grumpy today. I'm grumpy today because people think that if they just make certain changes to their website, they will rank and that everybody can do SEO because it's free. Okay, look, let me be a little bit more transparent with what I'm saying here, because I'm not trying to tell you that you can't do SEO because you don't have enough money. I'm not saying that, okay? And it's going to be expensive, okay? It's going to probably cost money. In this episode, we're going to talk about when it costs money, when it doesn't cost money, and why this is the case. Okay, before we do that, a couple announcements. New episodes come out on Wednesday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's for the podcast. However, those of you that are listening on YouTube, it's going to be a little bit after that. If you leave a comment on YouTube, I try to reply on Wednesday, but sometimes it won't be before Thursday. If you like the podcast and you want to subscribe, that would be nice. If you really like the podcast and want to support us, you can support us at patreon.com/grumpySEOguy. If you have a question, you can join the Grumpy SEO Guy subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/grumpySEOguy. Or if you have a very detailed question and want to book a Zoom advisory call with me, you can email me at hello@grumpyseoguy.com and we can discuss doing that there. Okay, now back to the episode. But before we do that, my lawyer tells me that I have to say this right now. A quick disclaimer before we get started. Everything I say here is based on my experience and opinion from 14 years in the industry. I don't officially know how Google or any other search engines work. Everything I say here is hypothetical and based on my experience. This podcast does not constitute advice or services. What worked for me may or may not work for you. Okay, back to the show. Okay, so as you know, there are 4 things you need to rank. Now, we have episodes that talk about these, but let's describe them one more time. 1, don't get a penalty. 2, have content. It doesn't matter how helpful or unhelpful it is, you just need to have content on your site. 3, you have to have relevancy. And 4, you need authority. Now, those first 3 can be done pretty much for free. Don't get a penalty, you can do that for free. By the way, listen to episode 2 if you want to hear more about different types of penalties and how to not get them. Episode 2, okay? That's episode 2. Number 2, you need content. You can write content for free. Doesn't cost you money. By the way, you should realize by now from listening to this that quality of content is not a ranking factor. And as long as there are no problems with the content, okay? And I don't mean from a truthful standpoint, okay? As long as there are no problems with the content, bad content can rank just as well as good content, okay? Because quality of content is not a ranking factor. So anyways, you can write content for free. Problem solved. It doesn't cost you any money. Number 3, relevancy. Relevancy is also free because relevancy comes from 2 places. One of those places is content. So as long as the content actually mentions the topic that you're wanting to rank for, you have relevancy. Therefore, you have 1, 2, and 3 for free. There's no money that you need. It's easy. I don't know what to tell you. Number 4, authority. Authority only comes from backlinks, okay? If you are unfamiliar with this topic, by the way, you must be a first-time listener, so thank you for listening. Authority comes from backlinks. Good quality backlinks provide more authority than bad quality backlinks. The quick version is almost every website on the internet has some amount of authority. The more authority a page has that links to you, the more authority a backlink from that page provides. So if I have a very authoritative website and I link to you, that backlink is providing you some authority. If somebody else with a less authoritative website links to you, that backlink provides a little bit of authority, but it still provides authority. Now, there are exceptions to this. We're not going to talk about them now. But what you need to understand is backlinks are the only way to get authority, okay? Most people can do 1, 2, and 3. Most people have a hard time getting enough authority. There are a lot of posts on different websites that say things like, guys, I can't figure out why I can't rank. I have really good content. I have title tags. I have H1 tags. I'm using EEAT. By the way, you should know that EEAT is not a ranking factor, and we have other episodes that describe this in detail. But anyway, I'm doing all these things right. Why can I not rank? Well, the answer to that question is usually because you do not have enough authority. Do you remember the episode where I said SEO is not a checklist, it is a competition? A lot of listeners, hopefully not listeners to Grumpy SEO Guy, but a lot of listeners think that SEO is a checklist. Okay, what does that mean? That means that if you follow a certain method and do all the right things, you will rank. It's like a paper in school. Do you remember when you were given papers that you had to write? And like, if you do everything correctly, you will get an A. You will be rewarded with a perfect grade. Do you remember? And like, there's a checklist. First, I'm just making this up, but first you write the title, then you have to have this many paragraphs, then you have to cite your sources, blah, blah, blah. As long as you do everything right, you get an A. And so people think that SEO works that way, but it doesn't. SEO is a competition. SEO is not a checklist. Here's the difference. There can only be one website at the top of the search engine results, okay? And that is the website with the best SEO. Okay, so SEO is not about doing everything according to a checklist. It is not about, there is no standard, okay? If there is a checklist, that would presume a standard exists. But if there was a standard that existed, why wouldn't everybody do the same things and meet that standard? Why would, of course they would, and then everybody would be number one. But wait a minute, there's only one website at the top of the search engines. So SEO is not about following a checklist. SEO is about doing SEO better than your competition. There are no standards that exist, and any standards that exist would be for on-page things, and they wouldn't really help you very much. Now, obviously, there's bad ways of doing things, but as long as, for example, as long as you're not keyword stuffing, okay? Like that would be an example of something not to do, but not keyword stuffing doesn't mean you're gonna rank. It just means you're not gonna get a keyword stuffing penalty, okay? Does that concept make sense? Like just because you don't do things wrong doesn't mean that you will be in the first position. It doesn't even mean you'll be on the first page, okay? It just means you have a better chance of ranking because you don't have a penalty. Okay, so anyways, backlinks, the only way to get authority, backlinks usually either cost money or effort, okay? So there's 4 ways to get backlinks, and you know this because you have listened to this episode. If not, I'll put a link in the description. But anyway, look, there's 4 ways to get backlinks. Let's mention them very quickly. 1, do nothing and let people link to you. This method does not work if you do not rank, because if you do not rank, people will not know that your website exists. And if they do not know your website exists, they cannot link to you. So it's a great method if you already rank, but most people with new websites do not already rank. Number 2, you can buy backlinks. We have other episodes on this, but let's just assume for now that's a way to do it. Number 3, you can guest post or link outreach. Okay, let's describe these really quickly in case you have not heard of them. Guest posting is when you email somebody and say, hey, we'll write an article for you, and in exchange, you provide us a link, usually in the article or at the bottom of the article. Okay, that's cool. If they say yes and they don't try to make you pay, that is a free way to get a backlink, but it still takes energy because you have to actually do it. Link outreach is similar. Link outreach is when you email someone and say, hey, we saw your post mentions whatever topic, our website is on the same topic, can we have a link? If they do not make you pay for that link, that is a free way to get a backlink and to get authority. Okay, now guest posting and link outreach can work. I'm not going to say they don't work. I'm just saying they can work. It's one way to get backlinks. And the 4th way to get backlinks is to build your own. We describe this with a lot of specificity in other places, so I'm not going to talk about it now, but it costs money. It costs a lot of money to do it yourself, usually, at least to start. So anyways, look, there's 4 ways to get backlinks. One more time, do nothing and let people link to you. That's number 1. Number 2, buy backlinks. Number 3, guest posting and link outreach. Number 4, build your own. Okay, so there's 2 ways in there that are free sometimes. One of them is to do nothing and let people link to you. Okay, that can work. And the other one that is free sometimes is to link outreach and guest post. Now, some people are going to make you pay, but it's possible to do that for free. Okay, excluding those, why are backlinks expensive? Backlinks are expensive because they work. Okay, SEO is about doing SEO better than your competition and assuming that everybody has a good, a reasonably good webpage, okay? A reasonably good webpage, because there's nothing you can really do on your page that will make you rank higher than someone else. I mean, that's not entirely correct, but let's assume that if that was true, everybody would do it the right way. Okay, so let's assume that everybody has a perfect website. Okay, let's just assume everybody, whatever checklist you're following, remember SEO is not a checklist, but whatever checklist you're following, let's just assume everybody's doing it correctly. Okay, so if everybody's website is exactly the same and they're all great and they're all perfect, how does a search engine know what website to rank first and second and so on? Authority. The answer is authority. Okay. Authority comes from backlinks. So once your website is set up correctly, okay, meaning no penalties, content, and relevancy, and it's a little bit more detailed than that. We're just being brief right now with our summary. As long as those things are in place, it basically is a contest to see who can get more authority. More authority comes from better backlinks. Better backlinks come from better websites, okay? So SEO ultimately, and I'm being honest with you when I tell you this, SEO ultimately is about getting as much authority as possible by getting as good quality of backlinks as possible. That is what happens. That is why there is an industry for buying and selling backlinks. Now, we're not going to talk about that very much in this episode because that's not the purpose of this episode, but I want you to understand because they are valuable, that's why there is an entire field around this, okay? Now, I'm not even going to talk about the quality. We have other episodes that talk about what you should, consider and forget about when it comes to buying backlinks. By the way, episodes 37 and 39 are good places to start if you want to learn about that. We'll put a link in the description. Look, the reason good backlinks cost money is because they work, okay? If your competition is ranking because they have a lot of authority, the only way for you to outrank them is by getting more authority. How are you going to do that? You're going to do that with backlinks. How are you going to get your backlinks? Well, we just talked about how to get backlinks. Wait and let people link to you, buy them, link outreach and guest posting, or build your own. That's how you get authority. So rather than listen to people who say things like, well, maybe you should just change this article a little bit and put more EEAT in it. No, that's the wrong answer because EEAT is not a ranking factor. Well, maybe you should modify your website so that the UX, user experience, the UX is more enjoyable. No, that's not a ranking factor. UX, user experience, is not a ranking factor. Well, maybe, have you ever thought about maybe you should write more articles on the same topic? No, more articles on the same topic is not a ranking factor. In fact, it can cause concerns if you get into keyword cannibalization, which is something that we're not going to talk about in this episode. Okay? People always try to come up with stuff, and I don't know why. Well, yes, I do. It's because most of the SEO information out there is terrible and just like completely unhelpful and wrong. Like I don't know. Like I don't really spend a lot of time listening to other SEO podcasts or reading other SEO websites because I'm not really interested in like sometimes if I just not sometimes if an article like sounds like fun or something, like I'll read it and usually I'm like, it was a clickbait title. Even some of the popular SEO websites that we're not going to name have clickbait title articles that have no useful information in them whatsoever. Well, I don't want to read that. I'm busy doing other stuff anyway. But like, usually it's wrong. Usually the details in the article are wrong. And it's like, it just tells you, basically, I read stuff And I'll be reading an article and I'm like, okay, this is good. This is good. And then it's like, well, and just remember, guys, the most important thing is to write good quality content. And I'm like, no, are you trying to help people rank? Because you're not going to with this advice. I don't know. But anyways, so SEO costs money. Usually, because you basically need to pay for authority. Ultimately, unless you're going to wait and let people link to you, or you're going to do link outreach and guest posting, okay, and not have you pay, because sometimes you have to pay. Sometimes when you guest post and link outreach, people will say, yes, we agree to these terms. It costs you this much money. Not always, but sometimes. So ultimately, you are going to have to spend money probably to get authority. That is how SEO, and I'm not saying this because I'm trying to, like, here's my concern. I think I'm going to say these things and then people are going to feel like excluded. Oh, I don't have any money. I guess I just can't do it. It's like, but like there's not another way to do it. If you don't have money to spend on SEO, you need to either, one, select an industry that doesn't have websites that are currently ranking that have very good SEO. Okay. So you won't have to get as much authority to outrank them, or two, not do SEO. Look, I'm not going to like create this episode and be like, hey guys, here's how you can do it for free. Just write really good content, because that wouldn't be correct. I don't want you to spend all this time and then in 6 months you're like, oh, it didn't work, grumpy SEO guy. Of course it didn't work. That's not how SEO works. All right. So look, I'm not sure what to tell you to do. I would honestly say if you don't have money to spend on SEO, maybe don't try to do SEO. Or maybe you've got two options. You can do link outreach and guest posting, which truthfully can be done for free. They actually can be done for free. Some SEO companies have guest posting departments where all they do is try to guest post all day. I mean, I don't know if it's all day, but I know that this is a thing. It's very surprising to me, but it's a thing that they do because it does work and it can be free, okay? But what I'm trying to tell you is, don't be led astray by people who are telling you, oh, you just write good content, because like the key message in that they're trying to tell you without actually telling you, they're trying to tell you that if you write better content than the competition, you will rank higher than the competition, which is not true. That is not how SEO works. And usually these people have a purpose for telling you that, and it probably gets back to they're trying to sell you content. Okay. Now, if you think I'm wrong, absolutely do it that way. Absolutely try it and see if it works for you. And by the way, I have a public challenge to anybody who can rank a website in a medium to competitive industry without backlinks, because there are people out there that say it's possible, but it's not possible. But there are people out there that claim they can do it, but they will not show evidence. So if you do it, please show me that you did it. And I will, if you want, I will mention your name on a future episode. I will send you referrals. I will probably pay you to rank our clients, because I bet you that writing really good content that ranks without backlinks is cheaper than running a private blog portfolio. Okay? So just FYI. By the way, I've been talking about EEAT earlier in this episode, and I just remembered I never defined it. EEAT is experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. It's like a writing standard that's supposed to make good content, but it has nothing to do with ranking. And even Google says on their own website, it is not a ranking factor. And I'll put that link in this episode. But anyways, look. Somehow that got misconstrued as, well, if you do EEAT, you will rank higher. No, you won't, because it's not a ranking factor. It's not a ranking factor. So anybody that tells you that you can rank just from content is lying, or ask them for proof. They will not show you any. Ask them for proof. They will not show you any. And then don't do business with them because they're lying to you. I actually had somebody message me that once. They're like, I do it all the time, but I'm not going to show you because I don't like you. I was like, okay, cool. Like, okay. Like, it doesn't matter. So I just want you to know that it usually will cost you money to get good SEO results. The basic concept here is that SEO is about doing better than your competition, okay? And that generally comes down to authority. So if you know a way to get authority for free, then you can absolutely do SEO for free, excluding, I guess, maybe content if you're paying for content, and like a website because you have to pay for website, and hosting because you have to pay for hosting. But like, if you can get authority for free, then you absolutely can do SEO for free, because what are the 4 things? 1, avoid penalties. 2, have content. Doesn't need to be good. It just needs to be there. 3, relevancy. 4, authority. If you can get authority for free, you can do SEO for free, okay? But remember, SEO is about having more authority than your competition, generally, mostly. So I'm not sure of any ways other than link outreach and guest posting. I'm not sure of any methods to get authority for free, but maybe you'll find one. I don't know. Let me know if you have one. Anyway, so I just want you to understand that there are a lot of people out there that give bad SEO advice, and I'm not saying that it has to cost money, okay? Anyway, look, here's the point. You need authority to rank. Authority is usually the thing that costs money, and it usually costs money because it works. Okay. Everything else is easy and free for the most part. Authority either takes a lot of money or a lot of effort to get, because if you don't want to buy authority, you would have to build your own websites, provide them with enough authority, and then link them to your other website, which will either take you a lot of effort. That is not easy. That is not easy. That will take you a lot of effort, or you have to buy it. There's no other way. There's no other way to do it. Anyway, I don't know. People are going to not like this episode because they're going to be like, you didn't tell us anything, grumpy SEO guy, change it, it's expensive. I want you to understand why it works the way it does and why some things cost money. Okay? That was purpose. Okay, this episode is finished. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you enjoy this podcast, please leave a review. It would really help the show out. I hope this episode was helpful. If you have any questions or want to suggest a subject for a future episode, you can contact me on Reddit. My username is Grumpy SEO Guy. You can visit the Grumpy SEO Guy subreddit, or you can email me at hello@grumpyseoguy.com. If you email me, please either whitelist my email address or check your junk folders, because I've been told that my replies are going into the junk folder, and it's probably because we're talking about things like SEO and backlinks, and I think those words will classify an email as spam. And if you want to support the podcast, because it's the best source of SEO information on the planet and it's free, you can do so at patreon.com/grumpy SEO Guy. And I will talk to you later. You're listening to Grumpy SEO Guy, the SEO podcast that doesn't waste your time with nonsense that doesn't work. Join us next Wednesday for another episode.